Look up. Look at this beautiful space that our ancestors created for us. Look at the windows. Look at the altar. From the beginning of time, human beings have longed to create spaces to honor their God. The bigger, the grander, the more beautiful, the better. For they knew somehow that in beauty they would reach close to the divine. That somehow beauty would lift human spirits and draw us to the holy. In the place where our patron Saint John is buried, the town of Ephesus was one of the greatest pagan temples ever constructed. It was one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world. The temple of the goddess Artemis. We hear about it in the book of Acts when Paul is preaching, and because he's preaching and talking about Jesus, people aren't buying little statues of Artemis anymore, and the artisans are getting upset because he's cutting into their profit. And they scream through the town, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." An absolute colossal Roman temple. If you can imagine a temple made of marble, larger than an NFL stadium, with columns 60 to 80 feet tall, when you went there, you knew you were approaching something magnificent. Herod the Great, who will figure so prominently in our Christmas stories, knew that the Jewish temple was the place of the true God, and it was much smaller. But he decided to encapsulate an entire mountain, the entire mountain of Moriah, which became a platform equal to 3 NFL stadiums. This beautiful marble temple sitting at the top of the peak of the mountain. Grape leaves and bunches of grapes made of solid gold, doors that faced east covered with gold, so that when the sun rose, you were blinded by the sight of the sun reflecting on the temple. This was the world that Mary and Joseph knew. This was the world where God resided. God resided in places of power and beauty and majesty and grandeur. So Mary obviously was taken aback when suddenly the angel comes to her, poor, in a podunk little town in the far out reaches of the Roman Empire, with a message. God has chosen you. Our translators clean it up a lot. Her response is, "Really? Are you sure? Has God made some mistake? This is the wrong place. This isn't the temple. This isn't where God dwells. What are you doing here? Why are you here? Why me?" And like every other person that God meets, the questions and the protests begin. And yet the angel says, "Do not be afraid. For the Holy Spirit will pour upon you, and you will give birth to the Son of God." I would invite you to pull out the blue hymnal that you find in the pew in front of you and turn it to 475. like us to do two things. The first is I'd like us to read verse 4 together in unison. And then Christopher's going to start playing, and we're going to sing verse 1 and verse 4. Verse 1 is just to get us familiar with the melody. But when we sing verse 4, I want you to sing it as a prayer. All right? So let's say it together. Come, abide within me. Let my soul, like Mary, be thy earthly sanctuary. Come and dwell in the Spirit with transfiguring splendor. Love and honor will I render. Where I go, here below, let me bow before thee, know thee and adore thee. Verses 1 and 4.
Seriously, turn around. Look, in front, behind. The promise was Emmanuel, God with us. At the coming of Jesus, God shifted from beautiful temples to the mansions that we prepare for himself. Let my soul, like Mary, be thine earthly sanctuary. You are the temple of God. You are the place where God chooses to dwell. You are the place where his Spirit resides. You are the hope of the world, for in you Emmanuel dwells, that the world may be saved.